The 2024 Baltimore Ravens finished with a AFC North leading 12-5 record and another MVP caliber season for Lamar Jackson. Wonderful season by Lamar and other players on this team as they finished with a very strong run going into the playoffs. And with the regular season coming to an end, we present the Ravens 2024 Team Awards.
All right, so we're going to start out, much like we did with the Carolina Panther Team Awards, with MVP. In Baltimore, there are essentially two candidates. You've got Lamar Jackson, and you've got Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson had a historic season. He was the first quarterback ever to throw for more than 4,000 yards and rush for more than 800 yards. He ended up actually over 900. And he was also the first quarterback to ever throw for more than 40 touchdown passes and fewer than 5 interceptions. He had 41 and 4 respectively. Derrick Henry kind of found the fountain of youth after a few seasons of just being kind of not necessarily average, but not the King Henry that you remember from his prime. So he finished just over 1,900 yards, and with his highest yards per carry in several seasons. It was kind of a throwback season for Derrick Henry. He's out there. I mean, I don't know how, but reaching 22 miles an hour on these runs. It's not a record, not something that's tracked, but he has to have the record for knocking out defenders just while running. So he knocked out a defender with his thigh. He put a few people into the dirt with his stiff arm, Hall of Fame stiff arm, mind you. But yeah, it really comes down to those two guys. They ran that offense in Buffalo or in Baltimore. They really kind of keyed their run to the division championship. For me, it does come down to Lamar, though. We've never seen a quarterback have the season that he had. And Derrick Henry, as great as he was, ended up being the second best running back in the league this year. So I've got Lamar for team MVP.
Yeah, he's the league MVP, right? At least in our opinion, as of this recording, and he's the team MVP. I don't know how a player this great continues to improve every single year. I mean, and I don't even think he's done, right? I don't even think this is the final product yet, right? But I mean, this is what great talent and hard work looks like. It is hard for athletes when you're young and you have great talent above other talented athletes to be focused enough and locked in enough to work on your craft in the off season, stay in shape, right? Push yourself to get better. But that's exactly what Lamar did, and he's committed to the sport, and it shows.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people who kind of go back and forth with this award, saying it should go to Derrick, it should go to Lamar, it should go to Derrick, it should go to Lamar. Just kind of saying, hey, Derrick Henry has enabled this kind of season just by the threat that he presents. Other people say it's the other way around. Derrick Henry was able to kind of hit those benchmarks that we haven't seen in several seasons because he's playing next to Lamar. Honestly, if you're really going back and forth and losing sleep over that, and it's time to take a step back. If you can't get to bed because you're like Lamar, Derrick, I don't know, we've got the answer for you, and that is, of course, Magic Mind. You see at the bottom of the screen there, we got the website www.magicmind.com/LBHTJAN. That's for January. That's going to get you 45% off of the bundle, which is the focus shot during the day, and then, like I mentioned, the sleep shot at night, because if you're not getting rest, then you're not contributing to your mental wealth, right? Which is sleep, diet, exercise, stress management, and exogenous compounds, which are just, things from the outside that you're putting into your body, right? Yeah. You want to be on top of all 5 of those pillars so you can essentially be your best self. Magic Mind We've talked a lot about it. It's a focus shot during the day that kind of lets you lock into whatever goals you have, whatever work you need to do. And now they've added the sleep shot to help you get that rest and be rejuvenated for the next day.
Yeah. And look, you guys have seen us talk about Magic Mind before. We worked with them in the past. Great company. Okay. I use that stuff all the time. You guys know, I do a lot of the editing for these videos, and it is a grind, but it helps me get everything organized. It helps me stay on track. It helps me be more efficient. I mean, it works. It's not a miracle drink, but it definitely helps with my productivity. So.
Yeah. And what you're saying there is important. It's not a miracle drink. It's something that builds the more you use it. You use it every day, and every day that you use it, it's going to help you more. The ingredients are all organically grown right there in California. There's over 200 scientific studies into the ingredients to make sure everything is safe and healthy for you. And if you are still skeptical, go ahead and hit that www.magicmind.com/LBHTJAN, and you're going to get, again, the 45% off of the bundle, but you're also going to get the Magic Mind 100% money back guarantee if you're not completely satisfied.
All right, so make sure you guys check it out. That's magicmind.com/LBHTJAN for January. All right, the next award, I think these two awards, MVP and Offensive Player of the Year, they're kind of handcuffed together. We've already been talking about the two candidates for MVP. So one's not getting the MVP. The other one should obviously get the Offensive Player of the Year award. Do you concur, B?
I think that, yes. You could go Lamar for Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah, he had a fantastic season. But the MVP award has kind of morphed into a quarterback award because it is the most important position, I would argue, in all of sports, certainly in football. And then you look and you say the Offensive Player of the Year, that's going to be essentially for somebody playing another position who had an outstanding season. And in this case, we're going to go Derrick Henry. Again, finished over 1,900 yards. I believe he finished second in the league in touchdowns. And he honestly put the fear into the hearts of defenses every week. So he transformed the Ravens run game. They had been a top run game multiple times since Lamar Jackson's been in the league, but they've never had a running back who defenses were afraid of the way they are Derrick Henry.
Yeah. So in the past, right, as recent as last year, this award could have easily gone to Lamar, the MVP and Offensive Player of the Year, because he always led the team in rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was everything for this team. And something, if you watch our channel, we always talk about getting Lamar help, getting him actual weapons. That's what they did this year. They got him an actual weapon, not wide receivers, but in the run game. And this is a guy that you have to game plan for. So they feed off of each other. We're talking about who benefited from which player. They benefited from each other, and that's how it should be. You should have two great players being able to improve the other person's play. So it's not just them going into these games, the defense going into these games looking at what Lamar's going to do. They have to game plan for Derrick Henry, because if you don't, he's going to run you over. He's going to run through you. Lamar can run around you. So well deserving for Derrick Henry. He finally made Lamar not the leading rusher of this team, by a wide margin, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Next up is Defensive Player of the Year. The Ravens, as we know, they had their struggles. They had their struggles on defense this year. Halfway through the season, they were one of the worst defenses in the league. But they got things turned around, right? And now, as we go into the playoffs, they, for that second half of the season, the last 5-6 games or so, they are the number one scoring defense in the NFL. I think that the change on the back end in the secondary is what kind of spurred that change in the defense. And I'm giving Defensive Player of the Year to Kyle Hamilton. because he is the most important player on that defense. They were able to insert Ardarius Washington, and kind of stabilize the back end, and then let Kyle Hamilton go back to just being Kyle Hamilton, being the playmaker all over the field. You can certainly make an argument for Ardarius there, given that his insertion into the lineup kind of stabilized things. But I'm going with Kyle Hamilton as just the better, more effective player.
Wow, I'm a little surprised. I thought these first three would be uh, pretty much on the same page with. I can't be mad at Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton, I think, is the best player on defense. However, I went with Marlon Humphrey.
Okay.
Marlon Humphrey, I think, has been the most consistent player after he got called out on the IG Live by Lamar Jackson. Now, coincidence maybe, or maybe that's a moment where he looked at it and said, I have to do better. But when this defense, particularly the passing defense, was playing poorly, he said they will turn it around, right? He made that vow that they will get things worked out, they will turn it around. And the intensity on his face in these games, man, like, tells you that he's not, this isn't joking around Marlo. This is serious Marlo, right? Yeah. And he's played like it week in and week out. He's made critical turnovers for this defense. I just love the way he played, and well-deserved all pro, first team all pro. I love it, man. I love everything that he's doing this year. Marlo's back. So yeah. he gets the nod for me.
And I do want to just point out another couple of guys. Yeah, Kyle Van Noy could have easily won this award as well. Led the team in sacks with 12.5, and he had a stretch where he kind of faded away a little bit, but he came back strong. He could have easily won this award. I guess Roquan could have won it. He ended up being a first team All Pro. I didn't think
he played better down the stretch too.
He did. I didn't think he had as good of a season overall. But you do have to recognize that he was a first team All Pro defender for this season. But moving on to, like I said, the Rookie of the Year award is going to be for both sides of the ball. This one was an easy choice for me, and this has to be Roger Rosengarten, the starting right tackle for Baltimore, who he came in and really stabilized that position after they traded away Morgan Moses. There was a lot of questions going into the season. Early on, the offensive line looked pretty bad, but as the season went on, Roger, he got better every week, and it kind of culminated in their last week, their playoff game against Pittsburgh, where he handled TJ Watt pretty well. Right, yeah. That's a guy you're talking about who's probably going to end up being a first team or a first ballot Hall of Famer, and Roger kind of shut him down a bit. So I'm taking the right tackle as the Rookie of the Year.
I had Roger Rosengarten as my Rookie of the Year as well. Since he's taken over the general manager position, we've been real critical of Eric DeCosta. During the draft, he didn't get a tackle or a guard in the first round. He opted for Nate Wiggins. While we like Nate Wiggins, I like him a lot, actually. We felt like they needed to go offensive line there, since there are so many changes happening on the offensive line. We wanted this team to get the best possible players there. He ended up getting Rosengarten in the second round, and we said at the time that Rosengarten is going to have to be able to step in and take over that position sooner rather than later, and that's exactly what he did. So I have to give Eric DeCosta props for that. Like, they identified somebody that could anchor that side and anchor that for a long time. And very happy with that pick. He's worked out really well.
Moving on to our final award for the 2024 Baltimore Ravens. It is the Can't Wait Award.
Can't wait!
So, and this is a guy who you can't wait to see what he does next season, and whether that's, he started to break out this year, or, maybe he didn't meet expectations, but you think he will. Just somebody who you feel like is going to be a major force for the team next season. I almost hate to say it. I went with one Odafe Owe, who finished the season with 10 sacks. I didn't think he was going to get to double-digit sacks. Honestly, we talked about this before the season. I said he's not going to get near 10 sacks because he's going to get benched. because he's going to be out there behind Kyle Van Noy, Tavius Robinson. At the time, we were talking about maybe Yannick Ngakoue, who had since been cut, David Ojabo, Adisa Isaac. But you know what? It was David Ojabo who got squeezed out. Okay. And a little bit of Adisa Isaac as well. I mean, he was a rookie and he had some injury issues, but it was David Ojabo who really got glued to the bench because Odafe Owe came to play, and he's finally putting it all together. We know that he was raw coming into the league. He probably should not have been a first-round pick, and it's taken longer than maybe fans and the coaches would like. But I think he is putting it together, and I think he has a chance to be a real force for the Ravens next year.
I'm not mad at that pick. I actually went with the rookie Nate Wiggins. So Nate Wiggins, like I said before, we were a little critical of the pick, not the player. Mm-hmm. But there was a learning curve for him, like all rookies. I think physically he needed to adjust to the physicality of the league. He fought through a couple injuries, and he played solid throughout the season. I think he really turned it up towards the end though, and got his first interception, which ended up being a pick 6 in the final game of the season against the Browns. And I think it's all coming together for him. And I think going into next season, we're going to see a lot of that potential that we've been talking about with Nate Wiggins. So I'm very excited to see him next year.
Putting it all together just in time for Brandon Stevens to get cut. All right, that is gonna. I don't think they should cut Brandon Stevens. I still like Brandon. He had a rough season, but I think he's gonna bounce back. But that is the end of the 2024 team awards for the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I don't think there were some other guys who could have slotted into these positions, but I think most of these awards, were pretty clear. They're one of the top teams in the league. You had guys who performed at a top of the league level. And, when you're talking about being the actual MVP, you're probably the MVP of your own team, right?
So that's it for this one. Pretty easy one. There's a couple of honorable mentions that I wanted to name. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. They could have been in that can't wait category, especially Rashad Bateman. He really turned it up at the end of the season, and that's kind of the common theme of this team is second half of the season. First half, there's a lot of things that look shaky, right? The O-line, the defense, the wide receiver play, the consistent wide receiver play, all that kind of glued together towards the end of the season. I love how the team performed down the stretch. So can we keep this going next year? We'll find out. But don't forget to check out some Magic Mind, all right? magicmind.com/LBHTJAN. That's for January. Get you 45% off that first order, all right? Check it out. We stand by this product. You will love it. All right, that's it for this one. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.